Okay guys, I'm here to talk to you about the show Squid Games. Yes, it's the show that took over Netflix in 2021. I heard everyone talking about it. I saw it on Netflix, I was like, oh okay. I wasn't really that interested in it, and then it climbed up to number 1. Everyone was talking about it. People at work were talking about it, going through every episode. So like, the show was so good, and I'm like, maybe I should give this show a chance. Maybe the trailer I saw didn't do it justice. So Squid Games was the show that was, I believe, Netflix's number 1 stream show in the year of 2021. I could be wrong, but I think this was the top one. And if you don't know what this show is about, no worries, I'm here to tell you. This show is about people who are in debt, who owe a lot of money. Really, all their money's gone, they're broke, they're in a lot of debt. And they were chosen to participate in a game. And if they win the game, then they win a lot of money. Money that can probably cover all their debts plus more. So all these people are invited to this game to play and participate in. And they all get a number. And it is, the number they're given is when they accepted it. So the number 1 is the first person that decided to play the game. And then the last person is the last number. So this is something you might have seen in the trailer. If you have seen the trailer. And it is red light, green light. So the first game is red light, green light. Pretty easy. A lot of people know how to play that game. So when they're playing red light, green light, since if this robot senses any movement, you die. Before, in red light, green light as a kid's game, you're just out of the game. But if you make a movement when the robot says red light, then you are killed. So yeah, it takes the gaming to a whole nother level. And you can see the shock on these people's faces when they realize what kind of game they signed up for. So basically that's the general synopsis of the show. These people play children's games to fight to the death to win a bunch of money. And you get to see what people really do for money. So yeah, that's what the show is mainly about. You get to see, you kind of see how people act, what money does to people, how predictable and unpredictable people are, the friendships, and then the enemies, what bonds are broken because of this game they are playing. You really get to see that in the show. This show is nothing I've ever really seen or before, and I think it's a whole different concept of this story, and I think that's why so many people loved it. So yeah, if you haven't seen Squid Games, go ahead, check it out. It is currently on Netflix, and I believe they'll be getting a 2nd season, so I'm interested to see what that would be like. But yeah, all the episodes are on Netflix. You can go check them out. Do want to warn you, it is gory, so if you don't like blood or death, maybe this isn't the show for you. But if you like things like this, definitely go check it out. Okay, now we're going to be talking more in depth about the show and getting into spoilers. So here we go. So when I started watching the show, I kind of knew what to expect. Like, I knew the general synopsis of the show. I've seen people talking about it everywhere. So I kind of knew before going in that people are fighting for money and they're playing children's games. When you lose, it's your death. You lose your life along with when you're playing the game. So I kind of knew that part of it, and I think it is kind of hard, someone who hasn't seen it, to go into it not knowing that, because again, it was all over social media. I had people around me talking about it almost every day when it was coming out. So I knew the general part of it. I didn't really know too much about the actual show, like details and spoilers. I knew there were certain episodes people were like, oh, this episode is gonna get you, this episode was heartbreaking, but they didn't really go into much detail on those episodes. So I kind of knew what to expect from coming in the show, but I think it didn't give away too many spoilers from what I experienced. So in the show, as I said previously, we have the contestants, and they're all kind of known or named by numbers, by who came in at what time. But we also have other people a part of this game, like the people who take the contestants to the spaces, the workers, I would say. And these people, you don't see their faces. They wear masks, and all their masks have a shape on them. And we do find out that each shape is a certain level within the workers. So if you have a certain shape, you're higher level than another one. I think they were circles, triangles, and squares, if I remember correctly. And each shape is a different level. So you might be a higher up if you're a certain shape, but it all depends on what is on your mask. And we also know that the workers, they don't know what each other look like either. They all wear masks unless they go into their rooms, and in their rooms they can take off their masks, but no one really sees who they are. So there's a lot of secrecy in here. The only people you know what they look like are the actual contestants, but you don't know, and you're not supposed to know what the workers or anyone else looks like. So I thought that was very interesting. We also have another part of this game that we do see later, and I want to call them like the playmakers or like the betters. I don't know the exact name. I can't remember the exact name, but they're the rich people that bet on these people's lives, bet who's going to win, bet on outcomes, things like that. So basically this is just a game for them, and you kind of see that throughout the show. Like, these people are not important to them. They just want a good game, a good outcome. And that's one thing I'll probably get into later that I was kind of when the show started out, I was like, how is this gonna go? I was surprised at some things, but as the show go on, you start to realize that they don't really care about these people. They just want a good game, something interesting to watch. So as I mentioned previously, all these people, they're called in with like a card, and the people who call them must have done their research. Well, they're rich people, so they probably can pay to get information on people, but all these people are in debt. So I think that gives it even like another level to this game, because these people owe a lot of money, and a lot of them, there's a reason why they are so in debt, why they need so much money, why they are the perfect contestants for this game, because these are people who are more likely to do anything for money. Which is like, you have someone that might be like, you know, owe some money to a loan or something, might not want to fight to the death to a game. But if you have someone that can't help but bet, can't help but make a loan or gamble, and then that's what caused them to be so in debt and owe so much money, and you put them in an arena with a bunch of other people like them, yeah, it's going to be interesting. You're going to see what people are actually going to do for money. So I thought how they chose the contestants was really cool, because these people are all the same. These aren't just, they are regular people, but these are people that I feel like are obsessed with gambling, and they kind of test them based on that introduction. When they did that, I don't know what the game is called, but they did that like paper game, and you try to flip it, and they showed the one guy, and he kept going until he flipped it, because he knew he would get a reward, he would get some money. And the guy kept like, he lost a lot because he kept getting slapped every time he lost. And so I think that's how they chose their contestants, to see how often they would persevere to get the actual reward. Would they stop and like, okay, I don't want to get slapped anymore, like that's enough? Or would they keep going until they win? So I think that's how they choose a lot of their contestants, which is like, you want the right people because you want a good show. You want people that will do anything for insane amount of money. And by having that introduction, by having that test, these people are like, okay, this person's gonna be good. They're not gonna give up. They're actually gonna put up a fight to win this money. So yeah, all these people were invited with a card, and they had to call the number, and then these vans pick them up, put them to sleep, so they would not know where they're going. So this game is very, very thought out. Like, this is not their first time around the rodeo. They know what to do with all these, because they have hundreds of people competing in this game. So they need to have this whole plan ironed out, and they basically know what they're doing. But they didn't count on one little snag, which was the police officer. So there's the police officer, he gets a call about his brother like not paying, but like not seeing his brother for a while. So he sees this card his brother had was similar to what another person had brought in to the police station. So he decides to figure out what that card means. He sees like the other contestants being brought in, so he goes to follow the car that they're in, and is able to infiltrate and become one of the like workers. So he puts on a mask so no one sees his face, and he's a worker. So that's another interesting part of the show as well, that someone was able to get in and try to find his brother and figure out what's going on. And he's a cop, so that's another level that like, ooh, we don't need the cops involved in this. So after the first game, like, everybody's basically shocked. The first game was red light, green light, and everyone is like shocked because they're like, oh my goodness, all these people just died. When you actually lose your life, like, I didn't sign up for this, and people are freaking out. And understandable, you didn't know that you were going to be fighting to your death. Like, they don't explicitly say that. They just have a couple rules, and they're like, okay, these are the rules, abide by them. So after the first game, these people are like, no, we can't do this. So they decide to, because if they all vote, if the majority of the vote is like they stop the game, then they stop the game. They don't win any money and anything bad. They just stop where they are. After the first game, they decide to vote and leave the game because they were like, it's not worth it. But the people said, if you do want to come back, just give this number a call and we'll bring you back and we can continue the game. And I'm thinking, wow. Well, it's only the first couple episodes. I'm like, you wouldn't think people would come back after they saw all these people die and what's at risk. But again, they chose these people because they were willing to do whatever for this money. And so even though not everyone came back, majority of the people did call the number and come back, because it's a lot of money, and some of them, their old lives are not worth it. You know, it's like some people thought, you know, I'm going to be dead either way, either in the real world or in this one, so might as well try and win some money while I'm at it. So there's some people that have that logic about it. Some people, like, they have bigger things that they're fighting for, so they want to try to win this money for the people back home, people that depend on them. So it's really interesting just to see that people actually who knew what they were getting into come back and actually compete in these games, and they know they're gonna lose. I mean, they know people are gonna die. So when I was watching the show, I initially thought, I'm like, okay, they're like, this game is like, we want to keep the game fair. Everyone coming into this is the same. Like, no one's above anyone else. As far as the contestants go, they're all on the same level. Like, there's no hierarchy. No one comes in with an advantage. And so I was like, okay, they're trying to stick to the game. They're trying to make it fair for everyone. But then as the show goes on per episode, there's like that one episode when other people, they go and get a second serving of food, and other people didn't eat that day, and the workers just left it. They're like, no, we only had a certain amount of food for this day. No one gets any other food. So I initially thought, I was like, oh, they're going to get these people who got second food, they're going to be kicked out or something because they broke the rules. Well, not the official rules, but like took other people's food, and everyone's supposed to be equal and do the same thing, get the same thing. But they didn't do that. They were causing friction within the group, conflicts, and fueling the fire, because these workers, these game makers, everyone knows, like, they have cameras, so they see what's going on, but they just let it go. They just let it go because they want a good game. They want to see people fight to the death and see what people will do. So that was the one thing. I was like, oh, they really don't care about these people, like, at all. They just want a good outcome and like something good to watch. At first I thought, I was like, okay, these people are fighting to the death, but they're all equal, so they need to abide by certain rules, and no one can get ahead or do something different than someone else. But then as the show goes on, you see that's not really the case. Like, you see the ones having the food, and then you see them, another time is when they let the people fight each other at night when they're going to sleep to get rid of get rid of competitions. They let the people fight. They're basically betting on these people. They're saying, if we do this, if we let tensions get high enough, what will these people do? And you can tell this isn't the first time they've done this game. This game has gone on before, and they've had other contestants before. I was watching, I was like, do they get similar outcomes every time? Because watching it, to me, it was like they were almost predicting this. They were like, okay, this is gonna happen, and people are probably gonna act like this, and people are gonna act like this, and we're gonna have a fight this night, things like that. And I'm like, wow, they've done this so much that they can predict what people are gonna do. And I'm sitting there thinking, like, no, these people, no, they can't really fight. They're not gonna let them fight like this all night and just kill each other. No, they did. They let them kill each other and things like that. It was surprising, but it was also predictable. And I don't mean that in like a terrible, like the show was predictable. I mean, like, human beings and people are predictable. They have this game every year, but you can, I don't know, in my head, I'm like, you could see that they have certain types of people every game, and they know that these people will do certain things so that this game is good. They might have a few outliers, a couple people that might surprise them, but I feel like the base of the game, they kind of know who's going to act like what. And to me, that's kind of scary that they can predict what people will do in games like that. Like, oh, these group of people like this, they're going to try to kill everyone. These are the people. There's people like that in everyday life. Like, okay, this is like, I guess, like a quote unquote bully. This is the good guy. This is the savior, like things like that. You probably have those in everyday life. So it's crazy how predictable and unpredictable people can be in these types of situations. And it's, to me, just scary and crazy, like how they can look at these people and like, okay, they have like a structure, and like, this is what's probably going to happen, and most likely the game went to how they expect it to go, which is terrifying, to say the least. The one thing I loved and I also hated about the game are the relationships and the teams that were built, because we got to see a lot of people like who went together and who were enemies and went against each other. We have like the main characters, we had like the old man, and we had their group. They're more like the good people and the people you kind of are rooting for. And then we have the other group, like the villains, and they're the bullies of the group. They don't really care. They don't really care about their group. They just want the best people on their team to get them closest to the end, which honestly understandable, because you want to win all that money, but they will kill anyone that gets in their way, and they don't fight fairly, which I guess that's not the point of the game. The point isn't to fight fairly, is to win the money at any means possible. So we get to see what relationships work. We get to see some people have seen each other before and they're enemies and they want to kill each other in that game because they hate each other. You see that. One of the things that surprised me and was kind of, it hurt was, I think it's episode 6, but I could be wrong. It was the marble game. That was really sad. So they tell the contestants to choose a partner to go into the game with, and then you go into the game, and then ultimately they say you will be going against your partner and only one of you will make it out alive. And to me, I was like, are you serious? Because everyone chose a partner they could trust and rely on, someone to help you get to the end. That's what you initially thought. It was someone that you'd be working with, not working against. And so we see this husband and wife duo get together. We see, I believe, Ali with his name is Cho Sang Woo, and he kind of trusted him, and they were kind of friends, and they had to go against each other. And then we see the old man with Song Ji Hoon. Apologies for pronunciation of the names here, please forgive me. But yeah, we see them having to go against each other, and that episode to me was the most emotional one in my opinion. And I think it hit home the most because by this point you got to know the characters and their relationships with each other, and they also got to know each other and knew them pretty well, and they were like teammates and they trust each other and they had bonds. And then in this game they had to play against each other. It was hard seeing Abdul Ali and how trustworthy he was of his partner. He really thought they could both make it, and he was honestly about to win, and then his partner was like, no, we can both win, let's do this. And he trusted him and ended up losing his life for it, which was so super sad because he was such an innocent man, and the other guy did not play fair. But that's not the point of the game. The point of the game was just to get all the marbles. And so just seeing how he conned him was so heartbreaking because he was such a sweet soul. And then the other one with the old man, that one was really sad as well. He pretended like he didn't know what was going on. He knew he was getting tricked out of his marbles, and he was like, is this fair? Is this playing fair? So that was sad. Like they both knew what he was doing, but he let him do it so he could win the game, and this old man would die and lose the game. And then another partnership with the two girls, and they said what they would do with the money, and the one girl just gave up. She was like, you deserve it more. You need it more than I do, and kind of forfeited the game. So it was kind of interesting to see what each set of partners did. Some were selfish, some were selfless, but it was just so emotional, that episode. By the end of that season, we see the cop has kind of been revealed. People know, other workers know that he's not who he say he is, and they try to catch him. And he figures out his brother was a part of the games. He thought his brother was a contestant for this year, but it looks like he found paperwork that his brother actually won previous game before, and he was just so shocked that his brother would be a part of this and that he won. So he's wondering where his brother is now. So while he's running from everyone, he sees his brother, and his brother is the I believe it's called Hitman, and he's the top worker. He's like underneath the like VIPs or the playmakers, but he's like the guy who's in charge of all the workers. And he's like shocked, and then he shoots his brother, and his brother falls in the water. Also, in the end, we see the final two guys who are in the end playing the last game, and they knew each other from before. They kind of grew up together, and right when the main character, who is Ji-hoon, is about to win, he can't do it. He can't kill his friend. He can't kill this guy. And he decides to he wants to forfeit all the money. He's like, no, I can't do this anymore. And honestly, that shocked me because I was like, you're so close to the end and you're willing to give up all this money. But it also makes sense for his character because he wasn't really a killer. He's willing to give it all up just to save this guy's life. But then the guy's like, no, you take that money. And the guy takes his life so that his friend can win. And that, to me, that was so sad because Cho Sang Woo, he was an undercover villain. You thought, a lot of people in the game thought they could trust him. The actual villain is just in it for the money and was willing to do anything for this money. And a lot of people who trusted him, he betrayed. And even though initially they didn't know he betrayed them, in the end they knew what his true intentions were. So seeing him in the end actually taking his own life and saying, take the money, and not trying to survive, or you know what I mean? Not trying to do a last-ditch effort. Maybe he knew he was going to die no matter what. But I didn't expect him to take his own life. That was not something I saw his character doing. So that was something that surprised me, and I thought was wow. And the very end, this dude's like, take the money, just do it. So after that, Song Ji-hoon, he wins, and he's devastated. Like, he won this money, but like he doesn't really want to use it. And understandable, he went through a lot. All of them went through so much, and he's kind of just, he's very sad. He's like not in a great place. And then he gets a note, and it's from the old man, and the old man is still alive, which is like, I knew it when we didn't see him actually get shot or like see his physical death. I was like, I know this man's still alive. And I'm like, they kept him alive for a reason. And when he sees him and he realizes like he helped create this entire game, he was like disgusted because he trusted this old man. Like, they were friends, and he couldn't believe he would create something like this. And the old man's like, people are predictable, people are mean, people are not selfless. And they made like another bet that they're like, no one's gonna help that homeless man. Turns out someone did help the homeless man, but he had a view that people aren't kind, people aren't good, people are selfish and evil. And I think that's what I don't know, one thing that intrigued him in the game. He's like, people are so evil, what are they willing to do for money? But finally the main character was like, okay, let me get myself together. He dyed his hair an interesting color, and I was like, okay, it's like when you go through a breakup and you cut your hair. Like, he's just going through something, and he needed to do that for himself, which is like, do what you gotta do to get through something. He's about to go on a plane. He's about to go visit his daughter, but then he sees someone else playing the game that he was when he got recruited. And it was that game when you try to flip the papers, but he sees someone else getting recruited, and so he runs after the guy that also recruited him and tries to get information. He's like, what are you doing? All this stuff. But he's not able to catch up to him, but he takes the card from the person he was playing against, calls the number, and he's like, I'm coming for you guys. And that's how the season ends. Like, oh my goodness. He's like, I'm coming for you. I don't know what he's gonna do, but I'm excited to see that in a following season, to see if he's actually able to come for them and like shut the whole thing down. So overall, I did enjoy the show. There were some things I wasn't expecting because of how the show was. I wasn't expecting our main character to survive to the end. I didn't think he would make it. I thought they would play some trick on us and that he would possibly die at the end and wouldn't win the money and someone else would. So I was kind of surprised when they had him win because of how the game was. I know he was the person we focused mainly on, but I don't know, just how the game was and how they were like killing people we had that were good people you got to know more. I thought he might have been someone who lost, and it might have been someone else who won the money. So that surprised me, and I liked that he won, and I also didn't like that he won because I wish they had that surprise factor just because of how the show was. I wish there was another twist that made someone else the winner. I was glad that this main character and good guy kind of got the money, but I was also like, I wish there was another twist. I kind of wish I didn't expect him to win, but maybe they were like wanting people to not expect him to win and then ultimately make him win. I don't know. I just wish there was another twist, or I don't know, something unexpected. That's what I think I'm really trying to say. I wish there was something more unexpected towards the end than what was given. But did I like that the good guy kind of won? Yeah, I kind of liked it. Another thing, I wish they made the old man's death more unbelievable, because I knew right away that once he turned around and they did not show the old man's death, he was still gonna be alive. I just wish they made it more believable, like, oh, he fell and you just see his hand lying there or something. Like, I don't know, I just wish they made it more believable that he died. From that scene, I just knew, I'm like, okay, this old man's still alive, he has something to do with the game. So I wish that was a little different, even though throughout the show you can kind of see that maybe there were hints that this old man is a part of the game, and that was the final clue before they were the whole reveal. So maybe they wanted to be that way. Maybe they wanted people to suspect it. When I was coming up with a rating for this, I initially watched it and I knew for me it wasn't a 5. I thought it was like, it came close, but it wasn't a 5 for me. But I think this has elements of a 5-star show because it was a concept I've never really seen. It was like taking children's game, make them deadly. What will people do for money? All these workers, no one knows. A lot of different levels and things for this show that I think has all the makings for a 5-star. And a lot of people probably rated this a 5-star show And I agree, this show is very good. For me, when I watched it, it wasn't a 5-star, but I can understand why people would rate this 5 stars. I'm thinking I would rate it like a 4.5. I can agree, like, it is on a 5-star level, but for me personally, maybe it's like a 4.55, a 4.8, you know what I mean, 4.9, but I don't think it's that 5-star yet, in my opinion. But honestly, if you rate a 5-star, I completely understand. So as I said previously, this show is renewed for a second season. So who is excited to see what happens next? I'm excited, but I almost kind of don't want like a continuation, because we already know the game. People fight to the death and things like that. I feel like another season will be the same thing. They're going to get similar people and maybe slightly different outcomes. So maybe in season 2, I would like to see them not focus, maybe focus on this guy figuring out how to shut them down, you know, because we kind of already know what the game is like. Or I would like to see season 2 be more like an origin story season, or like how these games officially got started type of season. So we see the old man, we see him younger, maybe not super young, but like younger than what he is now, starting the games, him recruiting people, him figuring all this out and getting people to join him and like place bets, getting people to actually participate, how they choose the people, things like that. I would love to enjoy seeing the origin season, or even the season with the brother, maybe seeing his season and how he won and became how he was. I think all those seem very interesting to me. I just think a second season doing just another Squid Game, to me, won't be effective and maybe not work as it did for first season. So I think if they do another Squid Game, it has to be like a twist or something slightly different than what they did for this first season. They did so well on this first season. I think they'll have no problem coming up with how they want second season to go. And I'm really excited to see what they do and come up with for season 2. But I also would like to see what happens to the brother, because the older brother who competed in the games, who was the hitman, I believe that's his name, he shot his younger brother, or I'm assuming it's the younger brother, his brother who's the cop, front man, not hitman, the front man, and he shot his brother who's the cop. I don't think his brother's dead. I think he shot his brother in the arm and his brother's still alive, and he knows his brother's still alive, but he just needs to save face and shoot him in front of these people so these people don't question his authority. But yeah, if you guys saw Squid Game, probably 99% of you have seen it, but if you haven't seen it, why not? Or if you have seen it, what do you guys think? Did you think this was a 5-star show, or do you think it was not worth the hype? And if you had to if you were to do a season 2 of Squid Games, what would you do? Okay, let me know in the comments. I'm interested to see what you guys think. I just want to say thank you guys so much for 100 subscribers. I am so grateful and thankful, and honestly super surprised, but I'm just so appreciative that there's 100 of you guys plus more that are watching my content, and hopefully you're enjoying it. So I just want to give a big thank you to everyone that has been subscribed and to everyone that has been watching the videos as well. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. Okay, as always, thanks you guys for coming back and listening. If you want some more TV content, go ahead, check out the blog. I've had other things I've been doing throughout there. If you're interested in more reviews, check out the rest of the channel. I'll link some below for you. And yeah, thanks again for listening. You guys have a good rest of your day. Bye.